for us. My name is Asha Kalidindi, and I'm the CEO and founder of Agni, and I'll be moderating the session for you today. So today we have an amazing panel of entrepreneurs whom you're looking at, who come from multiple industries and verticals. As you know, innovation is thriving in every segment, and every entrepreneur is like you is focused on solving real problems for the industry. So bringing the startups to interact with an esteemed panel like this will provide a unique opportunity for everyone, and including the audience and the participants, to build that synergy and relationships. So with that, our goal today is for all of us to come up with a fresh new idea, a fresh perspective, and a new strategy that you can apply to your successful business, and also gain visibility and feedback from the team here. So I'd like to quickly share the format of the presentation, because we have selected, IACS has gone through many startup pitches to come up with 8 finalists. Each one of them is a unique idea and a great innovation. So we would like to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to talk. So we definitely want to stick to the format of the presentation. I would like to quickly share what the format of the presentation is, and then we can kickstart the conference. Is it good?
Yep.
Okay, I'll share my screen. We'll review the format and the expectations. So here is the meeting format. We'll start off with going through a quick panel introductions from our side. And then we have a 5-minute pitch, an elevator pitch for each startup, followed by panel questions for 10 to 15 minutes. So we would like to see if we can get the best out of the 10 to 15 minutes from all of our panelists, followed by a break for 10 minutes after the first 4 pitches. Then have a final Q&A. Depending on how the conversation goes, we will see if we can have a few moments to discuss the next steps. So Srinivas Katragadda will be your point of contact for any future communication. So with that, I just want to give you the sequence of presentations that we are going after. With the time zone constraint, right? We started with SMIT-FIT to make sure that it's already night in India. So we would definitely want to make sure that they go first, and followed by UBCom, Boston Q, PSI, Kaidu, and a short break, followed by North Atlantic Partners, Paper to Market Communications, Pulse Athletic Apparel, Rushnu. So this is the sequence, and I'll be moderating each one of you guys and try to keep the time so that we can all get an opportunity to talk to one another. Is that good?
Good.
Okay, with that, we would like to kickstart our panel introductions. Just a few quick moments to introduce the panelists and a little bit about their background in the industry. So we will kick off the conversation with Anand Chari, who is the founder and CEO of K4 Mobility and an angel investor with Hyde Park Angels. So Anand, will you please go ahead with your introduction and let the team know exactly the industry in the background. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Asha. Good morning, everyone. My name is Anand Chari. As Asha introduced, I am an entrepreneur and an angel investor. My background is about 3 decades in wireless communication. And currently, I'm the co-founder and CEO of K4 Mobility. We are building a network management software platform for enterprises to use wireless internet a lot more efficiently. But prior to this, I was a co-founder and CTO of GoGo, the in-flight Wi-Fi company. And welcome all entrepreneurs presenting in today's conference. Look forward to hearing and interacting with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Anand. Let's move on to Evan. Evan, will you please go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thank you, Asha, and good morning, everyone. Very excited to be here. Again, I'm Evan Shai. I'm a multi-time founder, a decade of experience starting, growing, and now investing in primarily 0 to 1 companies in the health and wellness space, where I started after leaving a PhD program at U of I to found a corporate wellness platform. Currently, I'm an operating partner at Vitamin Capital, a small firm on the West Coast, and EIR at Penny Pritzker's P33 here in Chicago. Across both of those platforms, if you will, focused on evaluating new investment opportunities in digital health and wellness, consumer and B2B software.
It's awesome. Thank you, Evan. Looks like there is a lot of wellness startups today. So it'll be an interesting one. Now, moving on to Hem Shuri.
Good morning, everyone. Nice to meet you, and thanks for having me at the panel here. I'm the founder and managing partner of Spark Growth Ventures. We are a technology-enabled products and services focused VC based out of San Diego with a Pan-American and selective international focus. We typically do Series A to C deals, and we are sector agnostic. So most sectors are applicable to our focus. Prior to doing Spark Growth Ventures, I have done 2 interim CEO roles in emerging healthcare companies, was a co-founder of another hyper-local focused, technology-focused VC in San Diego, KKR private equity executive in an insurtech company, product management, revenue management work in an airline, investment banker on Wall Street, and also operating turnaround experience with the food conglomerate or behemoth Conagra Foods in the Midwest. Also did research at NCSA at U of I, Ivan, so we probably have some notes to cross and check. So we are looking to invest in companies which are founded by greedy founders solving big problems with big profit pools, problems looking for solutions, not the other way around, very value oriented and looking for scalable capital efficient business models. Been a VC for 6 years, have invested in over 50 plus transactions, and we are very active in the Series A, late seed to Series C is how I would put it. Thank you.
Yep, that's a diverse background across all verticals, guys. So get all set, go for Hem Shuri. Then go ahead, Milind. Will you please go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thank you, Asha. I'm Milind Lele. I have about 4 decades, give or take, of experience as a strategy consultant, as well as a MBA teacher, and of course, an entrepreneur last 10 days. Prior to that, I got a PhD in applied mathematics. So way back, I'm an engineer at heart. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm seeing a huge cross-section, including some people in my former verticals. And so I'm welcoming all entrepreneurs and hoping I can help them. And I can also share some of my own experiences as an entrepreneur.
Yep. Thank you, Milind. It's great to have you here. So Russell,
hey,
next.
Harshad, who's on the line?
Just 1 second, fellas.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Srinivas.
Sorry. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm sorry for the interruption. So let's go ahead with Russell.
Yes, Russell Grissett. I work for a company called Sunoco, about a $7.5 billion packaging company. I'm the president of our global flexibles business. In my 28 years there, I've ran our global consumer marketing group. I've also ran our pharmaceutical packaging organization, our automotive packaging organization, but have really spent a tremendous amount of time with CPGs, the Crafts of the world, Mondelez, Mars, whether it be flexible packaging, rigid packaging, point of purchase displays, in store, and look forward to the opportunity today to listen to all the different opportunities in front of us.
Thank you, Russell. So last but not least, Venkatesh, there is flu going around, he's down sick, so he'll continue to be involved in this session, but he'll mostly be silent. So with that, we can kickstart our presentation. Smithfit, do you want to start presenting? We are all excited to see you first.
So let me bring them on.
Okay.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hey,
Hi, good morning.
good morning.
Am I
Hello.
audible?
How are you? You're doing good.
I'm great. I'm great. Great to hear the cadre of the panelists that we have today. I'm really excited to be presenting with SMITFIT. So, Srinivas, shall I get started?
Yeah, sure.
Great. I'm not sure if I'll be able to
Can you see the screen?
I can. Oh, I have control. Okay, great. It's a little slow though. I'm not sure.
Okay.
We are seeing it.
Let me
It's
control.
fine.
Yeah, let me control it. So you want second screen?
Can you go back to the first screen, please?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much, IACS, for hosting us. Let me start with some quick introductions. From the leadership team at SMITFIT, we have our CEO Rinku with us as well. We are not together. We have joined from two separate devices. She's in Pune, whereas I am in Mumbai. And I'm Harshad. I head the strategy at SMITFIT. SMITFIT was started by Sujit Chakravarti. Unfortunately, he couldn't be with us today because he's traveling. Sujit was a partner at McKinsey, and he's the one who built and led McKinsey India's digital practice. Sujit started SMITFIT based on his own journey of living with diabetes for over 17 years. So that is what inspired the philosophy that we follow at SMITFIT. Srinivas, can you move to the next slide, please? Right. So as you all know, diabetes is a global issue, right? And one that is growing at alarming levels. Just to understand the numbers, in the US alone, the annual spend on diabetes is around $327 billion. As far as India is concerned, the problem is even more acute because the progression of diabetes in our country is 3 times faster than global benchmarks. Even the age at mortality is about 50s, which is much lower than what it is observed globally. So how does SMITFIT fit into this whole picture? Our solution is based on 4 pillars. The first is that we have an app which provides extremely personalized plans to our users. Second is we have a 3-member coaching team of a nutritionist, a psychologist, and a health coach to enable users follow through the plans that will help them manage their condition better. Third is that we rely heavily on data. We integrate seamlessly with continuous glucose monitors, Apple Health, Google Fit, even smart weighing scales. And fourth is the community of users that we've built over the years. Now, are we a competitor to the existing healthcare ecosystem? Definitely not. Srinivas, please go on to the next slide. Yeah. Where we come in is that we help the healthcare professionals or healthcare institutions extend the care continuum, as we like to call it, to deliver outcomes on diabetes. What do I mean by that? In between the first and the second visit that a patient has with a healthcare professional, there is usually a gap of around 6 months, if not more. And you all might know that around 75 to 80% of impact in a condition like diabetes is delivered through lifestyle management and not through medications. And that is exactly where SMITFIT comes in. Because through our app, which delivers personalized plans and which is enabled by our expert coaching team, we are constantly in touch with the user throughout this journey in between doctor visits. And this is where we handhold them through their condition management journey. And that is what helps us in delivering impact. In fact, we are really excited about the work that we are doing around diabetes reversal, which I would be happy to get into during the later part of the presentation if the time permits. Yeah. So how are we delivering this solution to the users? By partnering with the existing healthcare ecosystem. And why would they partner with us is because we help them in generating 5 to 10% incremental revenues, as we are actually seeing with some of the clinics that we are working with. We help them create in new category creation. And we also help them in digital rebranding and modernization for traditional providers who are mostly brick and mortar models of delivery. We are also partnering with different channels when it comes to our B2B2C kind of delivery model. Srinivas, if you could go to the next slide. Right. Our primary source of partnerships is clinic chains and hospitals, like I mentioned. We are also partnering with some digital health platforms to host our solution and deliver it to the users. We have some doctors within our network, and we are also partnering with employers to deliver health and wellness programs to their employees. So overall, we have currently more than 15 clients within India who can address a population of around 0.6 million people who are living with diabetes. Can we move on to the next slide, please? Right. So what differentiates us when it comes to working with B2B clients? I would like to take a moment and talk more about our expert coaching model that I mentioned briefly early on. So like I mentioned, we have a 3-member coaching team. One which has a nutritionist, a psychologist, and an exercise coach. Now, the nutritionist and the exercise coach are experts in their domains. They ensure that the user understands the measures that they need to take to bring about certain lifestyle changes to manage their condition, right? But a regimented approach does not work in this case. And that is what we realized very early on. And that is where the psychologist fits in beautifully. Because what happens is the psychologists that we have on our team employ active listening to bring about small and incremental changes that actually are easy for a user to follow through. And that is what helps in delivering impact. And impact is the absolute core of our solution, which can be seen on the next slide. So as you can see, for people living with diabetes, our users are seeing anywhere between 0.5 to 1.4% impact in HbA1c reduction literally within weeks. Now, just to contextualize these numbers, metformin, which is the gold standard drug in management of diabetes, has been approved by the US FDA for an impact of around 0.5%. So that is the level at which we are delivering impact. And this is seen. So we have demonstrated 2 segments of users over here. The segment which has controlled level of HbA1c while going into the program, which means that their HbA1c is anywhere between 6.5% and 9%. 81% users have seen a reduction in HbA1c, whereas the users who have an HbA1c of more than 9%, 85% of them have seen a reduction in HbA1c, 47% of whom have seen a reduction of more than 1%. So that is literally a superlative impact that we are seeing. Can we go on to the next slide, please? Yeah.
So Jagannath, I'm sorry to interrupt. So we are at a point where we would like to get to a conclusion, please, so that we can.
Sure. So I'll just run through.
You will have more time with the panelists.
Fair enough, Asha. I'm sorry about that.
No,
thank you.
It's a difficult concept to trim everything that you want to present in 5 minutes because there's a lot of value in what you're saying, but we'd like everyone to have that opportunity to talk to the panelists.
Sure. Then I would just like to say, we can jump to the last slide, Srinivas, just to save on time. I would just like to say that we are extremely focused on the problem that we have at hand within the Indian context. But at the same time, we are also aware that it is a global issue. And that's why to explore the opportunity in the US, we are partnering with a brand called Innovator. Innovator is a platform that helps with digital tools for healthcare providers and healthcare institutions. So we are working on that. Currently, we are looking at raising about $3 million to help with our scale-up effort within India. And very soon, once we are ready to enter the US market, we'll be raising another round of $4 to $5 million. With that, I would end the presentation. Thank you for allowing me to extend the time a little bit, and we would like to take questions.
This is awesome. What you guys put together really has a purpose while bringing in technology closer to people who have similar problems. So with that, Evan, I'm very curious what you think.
Well, first of all, great presentation, even with the shortened time frame, and looks like some great progress to date. So congratulations on that. So from what I understand, the kind of primary ICP, at least in India currently, is the clinic chains and hospitals. I'm not sure what it's like in India, but certainly in the US, that can be a challenging customer base to really penetrate. Are these customers currently utilizing comparable solutions and you're replacing those solutions? Give me a sense of what that landscape looks like.
Sure. Well, it's a long answer, to be honest, because it depends on what kind of institution it is. In India, for example, you have institutions that have a highly sophisticated setup with their own digital enablers, right? But that does not span across institutions and across geographies. So what we are reaching towards is institutions which are very traditional in their approach currently, but are also aware that the traditional approach is not sustainable given the current context. And there is a huge market in that area, right? So that is where we are reaching out to, and we are enabling them to get an off-the-shelf solution that will help them implement that.
Are these, should I wait? Can I ask another question?
No, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay.
All yours, sir.
Okay. Are these customers actively looking for a solution like you guys, or are you kind of outbound educating them on the solution and then having a sales motion from there?
We are definitely doing our best to educate as much as possible, because most of them are not looking out for a solution like this. But having said that, one of our clients has become a referring client because of the kind of impact we've had together. And through their networks, we've actually realized that people might not be looking for this exact solution, but they are looking for something similar, where they're experimenting with partners to deliver diabetes condition management services. And that is where our solution fits in beautifully.
Okay. And are they, last question from me, are they looking for cost savings, like with the outcome results that, this one particular customer is able to achieve? What is the kind of material benefit that they're seeing from a business lens perspective?
Primarily, it's portfolio expansion, because these clinics cater to a bunch of therapies. And this is another bullet in their arsenal, so to say, because we structure it as a program, right? So along with our services, they add on their capabilities, and we jointly customize a program that they can deliver to their patients.
And they're charging the patients?
Yes, they are.
Got it. Okay.
So yeah, like I mentioned briefly in our presentation, it is actually an incremental revenue stream to our B2B clients as well.
If anyone else has questions,
Yep.
space to jump in.
So Pim, do you have any questions?
Yeah, so great presentation. And also I think the overall business model is very well put together. Like the 4 pillars that you have put together, very well thought out. How much usage have you seen, or how many patients have you touched so far?
Till date, we are clocking more than 5,000 users on the app.
Got it. So do you have any engagement metrics? Like what is the monthly active user base or daily active user, and how are those metrics trending so far?
Currently, we are averaging around 1,000 plus active users per month. And yeah, so the thing is that we are working on 2 levels in terms of user engagement. One, like I mentioned, there are multiple channels, right? So one is through these clinics where we are expanding, and we are increasing our user base for the diabetes management program. And we're also tying up with employers to help them deliver condition management solution to their employees. So there we see a sharp jump in the number of users on the app.
Got it. What about the individual users engagement level, like a cohort analysis?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
The retention, what is the monthly retention like?
So since this is a focused program for 3 months, we definitely see some drop off after the program is complete for a user. But then there is a sustenance kind of phase wherein we engage with the user again, which kind of helps them interact with us on a more frequent basis.
What's your revenue model? Is it the B2B partner paying you and they are charging the patient, or are you charging the patient directly and then you pay a part of that to the B2B partner?
No, the B2B partner pays us for the services and they charge the customer directly.
Got it. So is it based on activity or is it subscription?
It's subscription because once the user is on our program, it's a highly structured program for 3 months, right? So it's a subscription model.
So last question. So from a scalability point of view, in steady state, what are you projecting your hybrid gross margins to be? Because you have a SaaS component, but then you also have a services part to it. So what's your steady state gross margin projection?
I would actually like to take that question offline if that is okay with the panel.
Sure. I understand your IP. Yeah, that's okay. Thanks a lot, and great work.
Thank you.
One question.
Sure.
Sort of contacting Apollo hospitals in India?
Yeah, we actually conducted a pilot with them. Yes.
Okay, good. How did that go?
It went very well. As you know, Apollo is one of the biggest institutions in India. So, the pilot went well. The person who was from their end managing the exercise is quite impressed by the solution. So we are in talks with them about figuring out a model of how to deploy the solution within Apollo, because as an institution, there are multiple stakeholders and they are going through their own decision-making process, but it's underway.
Yeah, we all know about institutional sales.
Russell or Anand, do you have anything else beyond the questions that we have?
No, nothing in addition to what has been already asked. Thank you.
Go ahead, Hem.
I do have. So we have a portfolio company, Redcliffe Labs in India, and they also, and other diagnostic centers, which are also becoming digital first, are doing lifestyle related morbidities management, if you may, by having associates when they go visit customers at their homes, they would also do these tests so they can actually educate first of all, tell the patients where they stand, and then they can advise them also. So how are you looking at the competitive landscape, and how would you differentiate with those players which are also doing digital first and also actually going and talking to the patients for some other reasons anyways, so the engagement's already there?
Well, specific to this example that you gave me, I think we can possibly find synergies in collaborating, right? I wouldn't look at them as competitors. But if you specifically ask about our differentiators with respect to competitors who are in the same space of condition management when it comes to diabetes, then I would reiterate through our coaching model that I spoke about. And also from a pricing perspective, we have a definite competitive advantage because in our program, we use one continuous glucose monitoring device, right? And it is a significant portion of the cost. Whereas there are competitors who are using multiple devices for their own reasons, right? So that through our model of data ingestion, we have perfected a way to have data from one CGM device and deliver the kind of insights that lead to impact. And that is what gives us a significant pricing advantage in the market.
Got it. So how do you scale the coaching part? Like, are you thinking of ultimately bring the human insights into AI and going a little bit of a hybrid model, human coaching and AI?
We have actually started taking baby steps in that direction to the tune that the first level of personalized planning that we offer to our users is on the basis of a whole set of health inputs that they give while they are onboarding with us. So we do some basic filtering and segmentation exercise using which we can model certain plans that cater to that particular profile. And that is when the human element of coaching takes over. Obviously, it will improve as we go forward. But yes, to answer your question in short, we will be going ahead with a hybrid mode.
That's a great plan. If I have 30 seconds, I will ask one last question. So you have the share of,
We have 3 more minutes, Haim, so I think
Okay.
we are in a good place.
so now you have engaged a customer, and typically diabetes, if it's type 2, is a reflection of comorbidities, right? So is there a plan for you to actually go into other comorbidities and chronic diseases management as well?
To be honest, there's a whole segment to cater to as far as retinopathy and neuropathy and all those comorbidities are concerned, right? But we are currently focusing on getting HbA1c levels under control.
You gave me the answer. I have the
It's
answer.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm good. Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Haim.
I'll jump back in. So yeah, obviously I have some experience with the corporate wellness, trying to go through the corporations to access the employees that they have. There's some particular challenges here in the US where it's challenging to show the cost savings unless you have a direct relationship with the carriers to be able to. It's just this kind of very convoluted arrangement. So like how currently, I understand the subscription model when you're working with clinics, it's like a revenue generating mechanism for them. But when you're working with corporates currently, how is the revenue model working? Are they paying for their employees, or how is that working?
We have two models.
Okay.
Actually, we are also working on a third one. Okay, so let me break it down. One is where we have a very basic engagement plan with the corporate employees, wherein the corporate is paying upfront. It's a very nominal amount, so they don't mind paying for their employees. The second model is a more intensive program where there is a co-pay kind of situation where the corporate pays for a portion of it and the employee, if they opt for the program, pay for the rest of it. And the third is we are actually exploring tie-ups with insurance brokers because they can use our solution as a value-added service to ensure stickiness with the corporates.
Yep.
So that is what we are actively engaging with at the moment.
Okay. Are you seeing any, if you had to pick kind of one of those motions, any more promising than the other?
I would say the insurance one is promising in terms of effort as compared to the revenues that we generate from it.
Yeah, I would agree. I would double click on that. That's been our experience as well.
Right.
I just have one question. You have a scaling issue, which is that you need a lot of coaching.
Yes.
Okay. So that's both a problem and an opportunity in the sense that if you can find a way to train large numbers of people, maybe even volunteers or family people.
Right.
But that's a real issue in terms of scaling this. And I wish you well, because I think this is a great solution. But at the same time, you're dealing with.
Milind, I completely hear you, right? And to be honest, we are aware currently at the scale at which we are able to pull through given certain SOPs that we have in place. And we have developed a system where we can train coaches as quickly as within 40 days of onboarding, right? But having said that, we are not in the favor of outsourcing this particular function because of the importance it holds in terms of delivering care to the users. So we would like to be in very strict control of the kind of level of expertise that we are delivering.
Yep. So a very good presentation. It has created something which has a great impact, and lifestyle changes, incremental changes, the psychology behind this is also very important, right? Thank you very much for your time today. We are ready.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great job.
Good job.
Thanks a lot, guys.
So we are ready for Ubiquan. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it.
Yeah, just give me a minute, Asha.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So my name is Giulio Gaioni. I'm from Milan. It's actually the evening for us. So thanks again for having us here and present our company. I'm now the presenter, so can I share my slides, or is somebody sharing the slides as in the previous case?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Let me check. So 1 sec.
Or if you want me to, we can pull it up.
If you have them on your hands, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe
So
it's
yeah,
better.
they're on the hands. Yeah. Let me share it. Okay. You see them?
Yes, I do. So thanks again. So I'm responsible in Ubiquicom. That's the way we call the company for strategic partnerships. Ubiquicom is a specialist of RTLS systems, which is real-time locating systems, where we typically locate in real time people, goods, and vehicles. You can move to the next slide.
Can you see them?
No, I don't.
It's stuck on the first slide.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you see them?
No.
Not yet.
Probably Srinivas, if can we have Gayoni go ahead and present?
Yeah.
It's easier that way.
Right. Let me then, because I don't have control of my screen.
Yeah.
Let's see. Pick it up.
Okay. Do you have the control
Yes,
now?
Yes.
Okay.
Share. There we are. So do you see the slides?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Perfect. So as Ubiquicom, we offer a one-stop shop platform that provides visibility over the supply chain, automation, and process orchestration, and we leverage artificial intelligence to basically provide overall visibility of these goods across the supply chain. We, our specialists, so we differentiate in the market since we focus on indoor, where GPS does not have reach. And in 2021, we entered the Magic Quadrant, the Gartner Magic Quadrant. And here in Europe, we ranked among the 150 fastest company by Financial Times. We are in a market which is supposed to explode in the next few years, as it's supposed to reach 55 billion by 2030 from 1.9 at this moment. So if you can move to the next slide, we will cover what are the key pains of this. Oh, sorry, I am now controlling the slide. Sorry for that. So actually, the supply chain is hindered by a multiple number of problematic situations. A lot of time is wasted searching for assets which are not easily findable across the yard, the warehouses. There are a lot of identification and routing errors since these goods are moved, but sometimes are moved in the wrong place or routed to the wrong truck. There's still a lot of manual activities done because when goods are picked or released, they always need to be scanned. And actually, overall, in the operational floor, there is not a lot of coordination, and there's an opportunity to gain a lot of efficiency on this front. So, what actually do we do? We deliver this supply chain visibility platform, which by tracking where the goods and where the resources are, we are able to gain 15 to 25% efficiency. We eliminate search time, as we know where goods are. We resolve a lot of the compliance issues since we identify those goods, and therefore we know where they're picked and when they are released. By locating all these assets, we improve all the automation, because scanning and identification activities are not required. But most important of all is the fact that by knowing where these resources are and how they are moving, we can build the intelligence on the shop floor, and through artificial intelligence algorithm, we are able to optimize processes and deliver vertical solutions. How does the platform that we offer works? One of our specificity is that we use multiple location technologies, specifically ultra-wideband, Bluetooth Low Energy, mesh, Wi-Fi, angle of arrival, which allows us, our platform, leverage all this and can also abstract from the technology and introduce a second level of intelligence, where we couple location position with industry-specific business rules, and we deliver vertical solution. Our platform is suitable for the enterprise, since by leveraging all this technology, we can enable multiple use cases within the enterprise, and we easily integrate with the IT system of the enterprise through standard technology, which is REST APIs or Kafka flows. We already have, the company made 4 million last year, and we have a number of notable customers, among which, for instance, DHL, where we provide visibility and reduce the search time of the container dollies on the Malpensa airport in Milan. For CNH, we automate the movement of the trucks within the yard. So we direct them to the available loading and unloading bays. And for a large 3PL logistic operator in Italy, by knowing the position of their forklift operators within the warehouse, we orchestrate their movement, reducing the time that they spend without a load.
Right. Leonie, we are at a point where we have to get towards the end of your proposal.
This is the last slide, so we are perfectly
excellent. Thank you.
on time. So the way we approach the market is in a way in which we try to build the customer trust, and we share the benefits. So we have an approach where together we identify business cases, and based on those business cases, we share the benefit. As I mentioned, we deliver vertical solution which address real customer pains. We partner also with system integrators such as Accenture, PwC, Ernst & Young, to open our platform to their customers, and to also lower the initial investment, since there is always a detecting infrastructure required. We also offer infrastructure as a service to improve, let's say, the deal success. We are into this panel as we are looking to expand our operations in the US. We will be approaching a Series B phase. We just recently raised 3.5 million, and we're looking to open up through commercial partnerships in the US, or potentially an acquisition in the US market. So thank you very much for your time, and I'm open to your questions.
Thank you, Leonie. It's a great platform, a lot of technology and AI involved. In the current situation with the pandemic, this is the right platform that everybody is looking for. So with that, Milind, do you would like to kickstart our panel discussion?
Julio, you can stop the sharing the screen.
Definitely.
Go ahead. Okay. Hi, I'm Milind Lele. This is a very interesting solution. I just have just one question. Having worked with European firms on behalf of US clients, I always had the Europeans telling me, Millen, these Americans don't understand that Europe is different. So I'm going to come around the other way to you and say, Europeans often don't understand that America is different.
Okay.
And it's large. For example, if you think of the Western United States, I had the company put one manager in Seattle to handle Seattle, Oregon, Northern California, and Idaho. And I said, you'll kill him, because that area is the size of Europe. Okay. So my question to you is, I see that you have a good strategy of acquisitions and things, but what is are you going to be a platform, or are you going to be a solution provider? Because there's a conflict between the two.
Let's say, so first of all, indeed, I mean, the U.S. market is a large market, is a huge market, definitely. We have been already presenting in Chicago, so understanding a little bit the market, and Chicago being also a large supply chain center is probably the right place for us to be. And indeed, thinking that we can reach the US from Europe is probably fantasy. And as a result, in terms of being the US an important market and being our solution, an interest solution, which is receiving the appreciation of large enterprise customers in Europe as well, there is definitely an opportunity. So we think that the best way to address this opportunity is having a base in US and probably, since this market is a market is developing fast, it's probably faster for us, to start with a company that has, some kind of, let's say they can work in a complementary way with us in the US. So that's to address your first question. Second of all, we are a let's say technology vendor, let's say, or platform vendor. And that's the reason why our strategy is to approach the market through, for instance, partners. And that's why we are working with Accenture here in Europe, and have some contacts in the US. The management team of Ubiquum is ex-Accenture people as well, myself, one of those. So I think that's my answer to your question.
Sure.
If you think it makes sense.
Just one comment. The US is also a very parochial market. Okay.
In what sense?
What that means is that you have to hire people that are familiar with the local market, just as I would hire someone in Europe to do the same. And be very careful about that, because the big question for you that I have to ask you is, what prevents Accenture from integrating backwards and eliminating you?
Well, there's definitely, we're not working uniquely with them. So we're working with multiple partners, of course, and there's quite a deal of technology understanding. I think, having been in Accenture is great to handle customer relationships. Is great at integrating. Is great, managing difficult political context at customers. But is not great at dominating technology. And there is quite a great deal of software and hardware that has to be managed. And I don't think that's the sweet spot of Accenture, just to name Accenture.
Yes. Final point on that. When you're dealing with an Accenture, and I have dealt with Accenture, count your fingers before and after a handshake.
Right. So we have a couple of questions. Anand, do you want to go next?
Yeah, just one quick question. The $4 million of revenue that you said you have, can you elaborate on that? Like, what is it? Hardware, strictly software license? What is the revenue model, and how does it?
Yeah, indeed, it's a good question. So thanks for that. We tend to offer services. So then, as we offer our services and our preference is I mean, of course, what I'm saying is we are a small company. We work with large players, so we cannot always let's say drive the decisions in the sense that, of course, we want to take the business and grow the market. But our preference, what we push normally, is to sell our services in a software, so in a SaaS model, being that a mixture of hardware and software, and therefore, from that perspective, is more difficult to separate, what hardware is and what software is. But let's say, all in all, probably is 50% software and 50% hardware.
Makes sense.
Thank you.
So, yeah, just to make sure everybody, like to make sure we have to bring the timing into the picture. So we have probably, with the technical difficulties, we have only 4 more minutes, right? So just bringing everybody onto the same page in terms of time. Evan, do you want to go next?
Sure. Just a quick question, but maybe 2 parts. How do you compare to like a Flexport?
Flexport, I mean, as for what I know, Flexport about is indeed more service oriented company. Is less hardware based company, and they also do, I think, trading. They have a bunch part of trading in terms of, let's say, or that they offer to customers, and we don't offer the type of trading service. We are, we let's say, our focus is more on the process efficiency, and is more in indoor, let's say, logistics. Flexport probably also focus a little bit more into outdoor and travel management type of services, whereas we are, let's say, in confined area. So typically we optimize all the indoor trafficking and all the outdoor, meaning yard, large yards trafficking. So, eventually we are complementary to Flexport, I would say.
Okay, helpful. Last question. You just raised 3.5 million. Part of the strategy moving forward is through acquisition. Does that imply an additional fundraise, or are you assuming that?
Yes, I don't think that we will not acquire any company with this current funding. This current funding was more to structure us to be ready for internationalization. So that's what we're working on. Awesome. Structuring the offering, streamlining the offering. So it's go to market. Okay.
Thanks. Makes sense. So Russell, do you want to go next?
Yeah, quickly, and good presentation and a very meaty topic. But as this is very much a global distribution market that you're looking to compete in, and very focused on Italy, and you said you're coming to the US. However, do you see it being an issue with the large global companies not having a true global presence, specifically being able to take what you do in one continent, carry it over to another continent, and carry it over to a third? Because most of the items that you're talking about travel globally. So not having an Asian presence, how would you manage that? And do you see that being an issue with the customers that you talk to?
I mean, I try. I mean, I'm not sure if I understood it properly, but I try to respond, and then you'll tell me if I hit the right spot. So in terms of, as I said, there's a lot of players in the market that they do supply chain visibility in terms of moving assets and goods across the planet, on container ships and that kind of stuff. Most of them, they use, if they use any tracing technology, they use GPS. Okay. That's a market that we can address because it's not a market that has a complex technology.
Yeah, and just for clarity, my conversation was standardization of warehouses within a company carrying the same internal system within their warehouses. We tend to like to have replicas in different geographies. So if you take something from one geography to the next, you're utilizing the same system.
Yeah. Okay.
In different geographies.
Can I build on to that very quickly? Because my question is actually related. So I have actually built this system and implemented in a large plant in Conagra many years ago. Our problem was exactly what you're saying, Russell. Once we implemented in that plant, it was difficult for us to roll out to the other 21 plants in the meats division because every plant does things differently. So my question related to Russell's is, what is the amount of customization you got to do to roll out within the same parent company, other locations, and then from one client to another client also? How hard is the customization or extent of customization and extent of implementation timelines? Does that cover your question as well?
Yeah, okay. So thanks for clarifying, first of all. So let's say that our system has a few let's say integration points with the customer infrastructure, IT infrastructure, which typically are an ERP system, a WMS system, so warehouse management system, eventually a travel management system, or an EMS, which is an execution management system. So it's a system which manages production, let's say, events. So those, that is the level of integration that we do with, and there is a little bit of work which has to be done with some of those, but the majority of it is actually a bunch of processes and use cases that we know. So for instance, some of the use cases that we manage is locating goods on a yard. So we can locate them directly, meaning attaching a direct tag on those assets, or indirectly, so locating the truck that is moving the assets. Those processes, I mean, I could name n other processes like this one. Those processes are totally independent and they are managed totally on our infrastructure, on our platform. Therefore, it's not in our platform is a configurable platform. So I don't see, that issue of moving from site to site in terms of redeveloping, different situations, which is just for us eventually reconfiguring a situation and a process. There is, of course, a little bit of burden integrating with the system, but it depends. So some of the companies we work with, for instance, we work with large companies like Geodis or Steph, large logistic players, and then they tend to have one WMS system across all their 30, 40 warehouses. So once we've done the integration, of course, process-wise, they might work a little bit differently in the logistic site, but for us, is then reconfiguring a little bit our platform to the specifics of that site, and normally that's okay.
Thanks. So thank you. Great story. We see a lot of progress and a lot of potential. So thank you very much for your time, and have a good evening and rest of the week.
Thanks.
So let's start with Boston QPSI. Thank you.
1 second. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, Abhishek.
Great. Thank you so much for having us here. Myself, Abhishek Chopra. I'm the founder and CEO of Boson QSI, coming from the background of aerospace engineering from RPI and Rutgers. Today, I'm going to present about Boson QSI, which is a quantum software company. In this endeavor, I am actually joined by two of my other co-founders who are joining in from US and UK. So one of them is Ruth Lineswala. He's the founder and the CTO of the company, coming again from the background of aerospace engineering and mechanical engineering from University of Minnesota and Rutgers, and Josh, who's a quantitative finance and blockchain expert coming from University College of London. So young group who has progressed over 2 years. To start off, what we are doing. So what we specialize is in simulations. Let's imagine your shampoo bottle. The last part that you try to squeeze in is always the irritating part. So the designers of that bottle actually utilize something called as simulation software to better design the shampoo bottle. This is the same tool that is also utilized by aerospace engineers. So just to give you a reference, I was actually working early in my graduate school. I was working on this problem of understanding the airflow behind the tail of an aircraft. And that I was doing at Argonne National Lab. Supercomputer, which was IBM Blue Gene L, largest supercomputer at that time. And it was using about 200,000 cores, meaning 200,000 cores running parallelly, computer running parallelly to solve that. And even with that much computational power, it took about 6 months to solve that. Now, this is the same tool which is also used by automotive engineers and biotech engineers to design and develop vaccines and cars and whatnot. But the challenge is, as I mentioned, when you go on these big scales, it just start to take humongous amount of time. So simulations, if we break it down, are nothing but complex mathematical equations which require large supercomputer to do the calculation. Traditionally speaking, as I gave an example, to fetch the high accuracy in the calculation, it takes humongous amount of time, and for industry, it becomes infeasible. So it slows their time to market or research. The other alternative that industry currently takes is, okay, can we make assumptions in the mathematics so as to do these calculations at much like lower time? But what it does is it increases, you have to over-engineer the product, so it increases the cost of production, cost of materials, and also in worst case scenarios, the recall issues that we keep seeing, whether it is the aircraft industry, the Boeing 747, or other parts. So that's the pain point of the industry. The way we are solving that, we are asking the question, where is this coming from? So the computational power is the real bottleneck that we are trying to face. So we are saying, okay, if there's a better system available out there, and yes, there is this new technology of quantum computers that are out there, we can utilize those computers. They work on a very different principles, hence they are much more powerful. But the question is, how do you run these simulations, which are these complex mathematical equation on this new infrastructure? So that's what we are doing basically at Boson QSci. Before I dwell into that, let's take an example of an Android app. Let's say you want to put it on iOS. It's not like you can just port it. You have to redesign everything from scratch. And that's exactly what we are doing. We're redesigning the whole simulation paradigm for quantum computers and putting that into a simulation software, which is our software. So we are redesigning the quantum algorithms, the data structure, the mathematics, in order to solve those same equations, but on quantum computer. What it will entail is high accuracy but low simulation time, thereby faster time to market, reduced cost of production, and no recalls is what we are going for. So the vision of the company is to become a premier simulation software company, which is solving humanity's biggest problem. Any problem that you pick up is, always you have to do those design testing issues. And this is the software in front of you. So this is the front end of the software. I'm happy to dwell into the demo and the back end as well. So BQ5, which is the world's first quantum-powered engineering simulation software, we are in the alpha phase and we are releasing it in July of 2023. And we already are backed up by the quantum hardware providers such as AWS, Microsoft, IBM, and Strangeworks. So these are the partnerships that we've already strived, and thereby giving us not only the software, but the hardware to run on it. So it's end-to-end simulation software. What it also means is that, number one, it does not change the life of a simulation engineer. They will keep doing the same thing, even on our software, just like any other traditional simulation software like ANSYS, Dassault System, or others. The only thing is they will be able to go home earlier because nothing is changing in the front end. They don't need to know about quantum computing. Everything that is changing is in the back end. So we did proof of concept with multiple companies. This is one of the proof of concept that I will try to show you, which is by we did with Maruti Suzuki as part of a corporate challenge there. So this was a design optimization module, which is coming on the first version of our software. This is a control arm, as you can see on the image on the right-hand side. It is between the suspension and the chassis.
Sorry to interrupt, Abhishek. Are you following the screen here or?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay.
Okay. So this is made out of aluminium. So basically they are 4 in numbers. So it adds considerable weight. But think about it from a manufacturing point of view. There are 100,000 cars that you have to produce. So we have to produce 400,000 of these parts. And again, the question is, how can you reduce the weight while keeping the durability high, but also the material that goes into it, if you optimize it, so your cost of production can go lower. So this was the left-hand side, was the input to the software. What came out was on the right-hand side. So first of all, this is the first time ever globally anybody has shown that simulations can be run on computer. And we went ahead and did some benchmarking of our structural solver, our design optimization, but also we compared what results show compared to a classical software. We saw 7% more weight reduction and 8x computational cost reduction in our case. Now, we are talking about problems which is spread out in different industries, automotive, aerospace, manufacturing, and others. Right now, we are focusing on automotive, aerospace, and manufacturing as a sector, though there are companies who are coming from other sectors as well, because we are not really vertically segmented, we are horizontally segmented, meaning our product can be utilized by different industries. But because of the background of founders, we are focusing on these three industries. But together, this makes up a $8.5 billion market, which is rapidly growing because everything is going digital. And from how to take out what we from a revenue point of view, we are selling this software as a subscription software. There will be a consumption element to it, but we are not talking about it at this stage. An average customer value will be around 250K to 500K, and thereby what we are predicting is the product launch coming next year. By end of next year, we also want to do, so the product launch is happening mid of next year. By end of next year, we want to reach the target of 2 million ARR, and thereby moving forward. But also in the third year, we will be developing new capabilities. So right now we are focused on design optimization, then we want to do fluid dynamics, structure mechanics, and so on and so forth. Now, we have already seen customer traction. So here are some of the companies that we are already working, proof of concept, pilots. These are all paid, and the best part is all of these are inbound customers. We have not spent any dollar amount in getting those customers to work with. And these are the customers who will also become our beta users. And then further on, we will try to get more customers in the pipelines. Here, the channel say we now in the 1 year time frame, we have also got many channel sales partners who's helping us to integrate this solution and also bringing their own marquee customers, including TCS and AWS, who we now have MOUs with. And our presence is now global. So our team, the company was an Indian original company with office in Bangalore. We now also have presence in UK and US. I myself and Ruth both are based out of upstate New York, and Ruth is based out of Pittsburgh, but we have teams spread over in the different domains. Our customers, again, can come from different geographies, as you saw already, some of them from India, some of them from Europe, some of them already from US. So geography is not a problem for us in that regards. In terms of the funding round, we have been supported by two rounds that we have raised, friends and family of 85K, then a pre-seed round of 525. We are right now raising a seed round of 2 million and then going to the pre-seed round. So that's about it. Happy to answer any questions. And yeah, thank you so much for patiently listening.
Thank you, Abhishek. It's an awesome presentation.
Thank
you. You covered everything. So any interest, Milind, do you want to kickstart the questions? We have this one, we are a little bit tight on the time, so we try to cover most of it. So it's just 5 minutes, just letting you know.
Abhishek, congratulations. You've already answered all the questions I had. So I'm going to turn that over to other people.
Thank you so much, means a lot. I know you're an engineer, so that's why it's important that you understand this.
Yeah. So Haim, Anand,
yeah,
you'd like to go
I have a question. Good presentation, Abhishek. So how does the price that you want to charge, how does it compare to what the costs are? If the computing costs are the driver, time to market is the driver, I understand there's an opportunity cost. So how do you justify the cost to the customer? Is it the opportunity cost or is it some savings, computing savings?
It's the opportunity cost. Right now, we are also working, the one that I presented, the ACV of 50K to 500K. Let me just quickly go back to that. As you can see on the second line, I say average license cost is 2K to 4K. That's the average, you can say, license of the current traditional simulation software. So we are keeping it there. We are doing our own analysis that do we want to charge high, do we want to be competitive or higher than them because of, as you mentioned, opportunity cost in that regards.
Got it. And is it easy to, so why would they not adopt a solution like yours? What are the challenges to sales?
Honestly, it's just reaching out to them because, as I mentioned, all the customers that have come are inbound. So we have not done any outbound right now. The channel sales partners are just starting off. So the real challenge is really about where in the innovation mindset they are. Do they see that current value? Because the biggest challenge in quantum computing world is the quantum infrastructure is early. And that we have de-risked by performing our simulations on quantum simulators, which run still on HPC, but it's giving that incremental improvement. But now that incremental improvement is enough for them to stay with us. And then as we go along, the infrastructure improves, the things improve, and then the cost, like the savings and the opportunity cost also improves in that regard.
Okay. Yeah, I know we are short on time. I'll save if there are if no one else has question, I have a follow-up, but I'll leave.
Thank you, Anand. I think Russell has one. Russell, do you? Okay, go ahead, Anand.
No, I was going to say, in terms of you provide the framework of the simulation software, the capabilities of that, how does it compare to competition, which are based on traditional compute platforms?
You mean the different physics?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
the modules and the libraries and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me just quickly go to that. So these are the different, on the left-hand side, you will see the different modules that we want to bring out. Right now, we are focusing on design optimization. We have the pipelines in, like pipeline to bring other modules in 1 year, one and a half year gap in that regards.
Yeah, that answers my question. Okay. So this could be a roadblock to sales too. In other words, someone is expecting all modules to be and capabilities to be present.
Yes, the expectation is there. Usually the customer wants to work with us in that regard because, for example, right now, some of the POCs pilot that are going on are not on design optimization. They're already in structural, thermal, and fluid, where those pain points are there. So, I mean, we do as part of the POC pilot, and whatever we develop there also goes on to fit into our software, but that's really not, like, that is always a secondary focus. The module that we're working on is the primary focus, but yes, that is there.
Yeah. Quick question: Does it require a different level of digital twins on the front end? And then, secondly, if you could answer, does it also work with switch technology, switch simulations? So, if you think about the growth of autonomous driving, is that going to be applicable there? Or is it mainly just materials at this point in time?
That's a good question, Russell. So basically, our technology and our IP. So we have 5 patents, which are all of the patents. If you really see what they're doing, is they're quantum algorithms solving a complex mathematical problem. It does not right now care about whether the problem is coming from fluid dynamics or structural or thermal. For example, one of our co-founder, Josh, who's a quantitative finance person, he's taking the same quantum algorithms and putting into finance and different use cases. So if, for example, in autonomous driving, as we have like the complex mathematics and number crunching, it is very much applicable there. But though the quantum algorithm might be of different nature than what we might be using right now. I see him.
Asha, do we have time or are we out of time?
We have 45 seconds here.
Yeah, so I actually had a question around long-term defensibility, which actually was around patents itself. So you have started answering that. Have you filed the patents in like global jurisdictions, or is it just US?
So the company origin was India. So the five patents that I mentioned, 4 of them are provisional. 1 of them, which is now a full patent, is being filed through PCT application.
Okay, you're doing PCT. Yeah, I would highly advise it because ultimately it's either trade secret or it's patents, and other followers will come into this space.
Absolutely. Okay. Any other questions? Anyway.
Yes, Asha, last question.
No, go ahead, Milind.
I think you should add a 0 to your fundraise.
Oh,
I'm serious.
okay.
Right now, you have an opportunity to really be a huge platform, which is rare for an Indian company.
Mm.
Okay. However, you are still focused too much on revenue. You should be hiring 200 people to fill out all those other things and give your give a 1-year trial to anybody that wants.
Interesting prospect.
No,
I concur with that. I think you gotta go big here. 2 is too little for you. You should be in the 5-10 million range at least. I wouldn't add a 0, but at least 5-10 million and cut through some of the go-to-market and development also.
I totally agree, because if you have all those modules, and within each module, now we are getting into the weeds and the programming. If you offer an easier way to do the programming, to do the simulation, or just as good a way, then you don't even need to sell it. The platform sells by itself. Right. So you need to get there as quickly as you can. Forget sales. It'll come.
And file as many patents as you can ASAP.
Yeah. Anyway, great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate the input.
Great presentation.
Thank you so much.
Abhishek, thank you. It was a great presentation. Solving this complex problem is absolutely needed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Asha. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep. So we are ready for Kaidu.
Kaido is coming online.
Yep.
You're on mute, it looks like.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Srinivas, will you be presenting the screen, or do you want me to share?
Devesh,
Okay.
I would prefer you do it so that way there is no navigation issue.
Okay, just give me 1 second then. Let me open it up. Just want to share my screen. Can you guys see it?
Yes, we do.
Cool. Okay, so I'll get started. Hi everyone, my name is Devesh Modi. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer and co-founder at Kaidu. Our mission is to simplify how we collect data in the physical world in real time. As we all know, e-commerce has kind of taken over the retail space in the last few years. But e-commerce brands also realize the importance of having a physical location to engage with customers. As you can see on the left-hand side, one of our customers did a pop-up retail in an LA Grove Mall in LA. On the right-hand side, one of our other customers has a shared space in the form of a concession stand in an upscale mall in UK. Now, what these brands are used to is collecting a lot of data on the digital journey of a customer, but they don't have access to the same kind of data in the physical world, and we are going to solve that problem. So I'm introducing Kaidu, which is essentially a plug-and-play solution that works indoors and outdoors both. The sensors they scan an area for wireless signals, and we use that to predict using AI and machine learning how many people are there in a given space and their movements and so forth. It's a fully privacy compliant solution. Customers don't need to download any app or GPS tracking. It's a DIY solution, so the customers or the client can basically install the scanners, the plug and play, and then once the scanners are up and running, customers can see data about foot traffic and zonal analytics and heat maps in real time on the dashboards, and they obviously pay a monthly SaaS solution for the technology. In the last 12 months or so, we've monitored over 500,000 area of square feet in US, Canada, and Europe. On the retail side, we have deployed the solution in malls, liquor store, pop-up retail, physical retail, and sort of retail-oriented spaces. And we work with leading brands like e-commerce brands like Pangaya and Vitali. In the middle, you see is a 3D hologram display. And we work with brands that essentially do marketing spend or promotions. And they use our technology to measure customer engagement and see like how busy the displays and what are customer interactions like with the display. And on the extreme right, you see a public library where we've installed our technology, and they're basically using it to sort of understand the flow of patrons throughout the day. Now, we are in a unique position because of the way the technology is structured to sort of go after multiple verticals. Pop-up retail and experiential retail / events is a big one for us. They're sort of back with a bang post-COVID eras, and they're seeing a compounded growth rate of double digits. Because of the rise of metaverse and augmented reality, there's a lot of money being spent by brands on digital marketing, on promotional marketing, like through 3D hologram displays and so forth. And they're using our technology to measure return of investment for the marketing spend. And then lastly, is there about over 15,000 libraries in the US. And then even if you get a small chunk of that market, we're going to hit 6 figures in revenue. Now, we assembled a pretty strong team that has been working together for almost 2 years on this problem. So myself, I have an MBA and I've worked with leading brands like Warner and Sony in partnerships and business development. My co-founder and CEO, Yuria Marcone, he's a tech executive with over 25 years of experience working for brands like companies like Google, NVIDIA, AMD, and leads engineering space. And then Dennis, who's a chief technology officer, has a PhD in AI and machine learning. And then Giri and Dennis, they worked together for a startup that was acquired by Qualcomm many years back. And then we also have a strong advisory in the form of Hemi and Kevin, who have done multiple startup and exits in the hardware SaaS space. So we have been growing organically and word of mouth for the last 12 months, but now we want to scale. And that is why we are trying to raise $1 million to sort of build the sales team. Our goal is to acquire more customers and partners in the retail and the digital signage space. And our goal is to reach 5 million ARR in the next 18 to 24 months. On behalf of Team Kaido, I want to thank you for your time and I welcome any questions.
Thank you, Devesh. That's awesome. So shall we start with probably Evan? You have.
Go ahead.
Or Milind?
Russell
Let's go with Russell. I'm sorry. I have multiple monitors.
Yeah, I have a lot of experience in the point of purchase side of the business. And curiosity, what level of accuracy around distance and time in front of, let's say, a point of purchase display or a new product launch, a new graphics, what level of detail can you provide? Within what range?
So that's a great question. Yeah. So let me sort of break it down, right? So if someone is standing in front of the display, we know how long they're there for, right? And the distance can be customized because of the AI element. So we obviously use our RSS signal. So we could do like a few feet up maybe like about up to like 30 feet, I would say. That's kind of the range.
But how close? What would be the closest? Nothing.
I'm sorry?
2 feet is the closest it can tell you?
No, we can be like really close as well, like even 1 feet.
All right, so you could tell me if I actually walked up and grabbed a package or interacted with the display or the point of disruption in the store.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and then again, because of the element of AI on top of it, we could customize it the way we want it. So that's the other thing. And then, so what was the other part of the question? I'm not sure if I got it.
Yeah. So the specific is, can you if a customer invests in a point of purchase display, can you tell them that a customer actually interacted with that display individually, or do you just tell that they slowed down or stopped within a certain distance?
No, so we've done that with the 3D hologram display. So we would tell when people come right close to the display and how long they're there for. And so we could do something similar for the display. Yes.
And my last question, just out of curiosity, any issues with privacy in Europe with this technology?
With privacy, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a completely privacy compliant solution. We don't capture any personal information. So we have not had any issues in Europe from that aspect.
Yeah.
Him, so do you want to go? I'm sorry.
Anand, do you want to go first?
No. Go ahead. I was just.
Yeah. So Russell already asked the question I was going to ask. So there is going to be a little bit of add-on I will do to that. Before I do that, first, what's your current ARR?
So we are about. Sorry.
If you want to share.
Yeah, I mean, so we kind of still in some of the early stages of customers. So current ARR is about 2,000 per month, but we have a pipeline where we could potentially go from 2 to maybe about 8 or 10K pretty soon.
Got it. Okay. And then the second one, out of home attribution is really tough nut to crack. We have looked at that space and it's not easy. So Russell's already kind of getting into that, which is the accuracy part. But the second part is, again, the attribution part. Like this is because of the privacy laws, very limited data that you can get. You can get engagement data, but you can't get specific user data. So is there a pathway here where you can actually, with users who have enabled in their apps, a store app or a brand app or something, and allowed for attribution, that you can actually then start getting into user specific data also? Is that a path that you're starting to think about, or have those conversations happened with the brands or retailers?
So that's a fair point, right? So right now, the companies we work with do not have a specific app. And so what they're interested in is pretty much foot traffic data as well as zonal data or sort of heat maps. But we've had, I mean, that's sort of down the path where our technology can integrate with an app, right? So for example, if you go into like a 7-Eleven, we would, and the customer has a 7-Eleven app, then we could sort of send alerts to the app or potentially generate notifications, because technically the customer has already given their privacy rights to 7-Eleven, and you can sort of geofence it for that particular location. So we are not on that route yet, because again, we are a small company. We are still kind of building the core product and sort of doing sales on that front. But definitely having those capabilities is down the line.
Got it. Last question. So if I'm a retailer and I want to cover the whole footprint, how many plugins or how many devices do I have to put in your store? And give an example using a standard Macy's, for example. We are all familiar with Macy's here. So for a Macy's, how many such devices you have to implement, and what's the cost for that?
Okay, so I mean, we go based on zones. So for Macy's, for example, at a single level, just for the level of simplicity, like single level, I think is maybe about 20,000 square feet and has about maybe 4 zones, right? So you got like maybe the sort of the male section, you might have multiple brands and stuff. So let's say there's 5 different zones on one floor. Then we need about 5, maybe 6 plugs to kind of cover the whole area. One plug indoor can give you a range of about 30 meters. So that's pretty good range. But then you might want to do like very, very sort of focused and sort of like tight radius as well. So you may need more devices. On the cost front, we've got the early adoption prices. So the way we price them is about, I think it's like $150 for the first scanner, and then $50 for every scanner on top. So for a Macy's for one floor, you're looking at maybe about $500 per month ballpark for one level.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, and one, just from an encouragement standpoint, the market is fairly well defined in the US and it's very large and complicated. You're going to need a partner in the US, and they will give you access to all the key stakeholders, and they'll bundle it because they're out there selling. And you probably know this. There is an entire market of permanent displays. There's an entire market of temporary displays, and they're going to be the sales force that you're going to need to bundle this with when you completely go in and put in these display systems. So it's a fairly well-defined market, and feel free to reach out to me offline, and we could talk about that if you're not familiar with it. Secondly, I'm on the advisory committee on sustainability for a university in the US, and they're actually talking about trying to use this kind of technology for complexes that manage millions of square feet from a sustainability angle, so that they know when to turn on 24-hour operations, when to turn on heating, air, and things such as that. And I've been surprised to understand how that is very much a growing industry in the US for universities and large complexes. So sustainability may be an angle that you want to consider within the university sector, which is a very large market in the US.
So no, this is a fair point, right? So one of the use cases that we've been sort of talked about briefly is, for example, washroom cleaning, right? So right now, like if you look at a DFW airport or like one of the big airports, the washrooms get cleaned at a certain frequency. But what if we time that based on usage versus frequency, right? So there are use cases, but the initial traction we got was on the retail and obviously libraries. So we kind of double downing on that so that we can increase the revenues and then sort of scale the team to go after other markets too.
And just to add to that, I like those use cases much better than attribution use cases.
Okay. It's a fair point.
And Devesh, taking questions from the audience, who are your current competition?
So I just want to highlight that I think Milind has a hand on, so maybe, but I'll answer the question and we can come back to Milind. So I mean, from a competition standpoint, there's obviously camera-based counting solutions that are out there that we see as a competition. We have worked with several companies that are actually moving from camera into our solution because they say this is the new tech, right? And it kind of gives you more comprehensive granular data versus what cameras can do. The other usual headache with camera-based system is the hardware, right? So once you install it, it's out there. You cannot change it unless you spend thousands of dollars to upgrade the hardware. Whereas where we come in, it's pretty much we can do firmware upgrades, right? So you sort of simplify the process and improvements. And then lastly, I think with cameras, just keeping that in mind is the lighting, right? So like think of New York in the winter. People wearing black jackets, it's sort of tough for the cameras to identify how many people are there in a given space. And this is the feedback that we've got for customers, right? But whereas for us, it's smart devices and signals, and we could sort of do that all the time. Now, focusing purely on our space, which is Wi-Fi, Bluetooth-based sensing. So Wi-Fi has been there for a long time. But again, we have had customers where because of, once you connect to the Wi-Fi, obviously, you can sort of track the data. But otherwise, Wi-Fi sensing doesn't work anymore because of privacy laws and sort of enforcement by companies like Apple and Google. In Bluetooth sensing, we have competition as well. So there's a company called OcuSpace, which is again out of Austin, and they work with pretty much university libraries. So that's a market that they're going after. There's a couple of other companies like Fast Sensors, another one. So there's a few companies there that we see in our space.
Thanks. Milind, you want to go next? We have just before the break, so take it.
I'll be short. I think you're underestimating how much money you should raise, because to get a good salesperson in the US, you're going to spend a minimum of $200,000 a year in salary and multiply that by, and you should have 2 or 3. For example, I was going to ask if you've talked to Disney or park operators, okay? But that's a years-long sales process, and you do need the capital. So that's my only question come suggestion.
So that's a fair point. So to give you a background, one of our first customers, partner, I should say, partner/customer, came out of Disney. So the company is called Mouse Marketing. So they're like an offshoot. They used to work with Disney. That's why the name Mouse.
Right.
So obviously, but we haven't talked to Disney directly. They have been interacting with them. So it's sort of a partnership, like a rev commission-based agreement. But that's a fair point. Like we'll definitely take that into consideration.
Nice presentation. Thank you.
Nice. Good job.
Yeah, great job.
Very nice presentation.
Thank you.
Yep. So if there are no further questions from the panel, we will have a short break for 10 minutes, actually 9 minutes. So we'll be ready in 9 minutes, which is 11:45 in CST, 12:45 in ET, and for the Pacific, it is 9:35. Yep. I hopefully covered everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Devesh. So see you in exactly 9 minutes. Thank you. Hey, Srinivas, so we are ready for the next one, which is North Atlantic Partners, right? If we can get that ready while we're waiting, that would be good. Welcome back, everyone. So we're all set for another few more sessions. Shall we start with North Atlantic Partners?
Yep, let's get them on. So.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we do, Shada.
Okay, perfect. Let me just share my screen here. Okay, so one point of clarification, it's not Northlight Analytic Partners, not North Atlantic Partners, Asha. So just wanted to correct that.
I apologize, it's not light.
No worries, no worries. First of all, thanks to the IACS I personally have been involved with them for 5 years, and it's a brilliant organization, and I've had fantastic interactions with them. Every session is more impressive than the others. So thank you for organizing this. My name is Sharat Mathur. I'm the founder and CEO of Northlight Analytic Partners. The name Northlight comes from the Northern Lights, and I was very inspired by my experience in far north Sweden a couple of years ago, and that's how we created this company. So I'd like to talk a little bit about what we do and what we are looking to do, because if you think about who we are basically very experienced folks from industry who have done work as business operators, analytics, and technology experts. And so we started this company about a little over a year ago. So we are still in sort of early stages. And the idea of Northlight Analytics is a very simple one. And it is to bring together analytics, technology, and business impact. And that sounds sort of generic, but what we are starting to do is the main thing that we are trying to impact is speed. So we want to get analytics into the hands of decision makers as and when they need it. That's one thing. And second thing is that we want to democratize analytics. So we want to make sure that non-technical managers can use analytics while they're making their decision, and they're not relying on sort of their more analytic teams and things like that. So we call our product Northlight Gazelle, and we're going to talk today about the Gazelle Pricing Optimizer, which is already creating some waves in the industry. We have had some real interest from companies, but we are still, as I mentioned, quite early stage. So I'm also joined today by my co-founder Vinod Gunasekaran, who is also attending the session and has been a key part of building this capability. So what is the problem that we are trying to solve? There's a lot of words on this page, but let me just come down to sort of what it really means. The first thing is that pricing right now, particularly within the packaged goods industry, is super important. So there is, I have seen sort of almost every earnings call where the CEO or CFO is talking about pricing is number one, because that's the key driver right now of revenue and margin. And that's a change that has happened within the last probably 6 to 8 months. The second point I want to make is to make good pricing decisions, you need analytics. And you need analytics that is truly driven by a robust underlying predictive model, and that can give them the results that they want in an accurate way. So analytics is very critical to pricing decisions. That's point number 2. Point number 3 is today analytics takes too long. So in my previous life, I was running analytics at IRI, and we would take anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks to do a pricing study. That nothing has changed over the years. So it takes a long time to get real results based on the latest and greatest data. So that's kind of point number 3. And point number 4, which is the most important, is that the implications are in millions and billions of dollars. So today, there are many examples of companies which have been very aggressive managing price and increasing price realization, like PepsiCo or P&G. But there are also examples of companies that were not as smart about pricing in the current environment and have had negative impacts, such as Clorox. So we've actually been studying these companies, and we've kind of developed a capability that kind of addresses this. So let me just talk about our solution. So what we have essentially developed is a SaaS platform that provides incredible speed to insight. And it has 4 sort of characteristics. I'll talk about how we do this in a second. So it has 4 characteristics. One is that the analytics are available in a matter of minutes, as opposed to weeks. That are, that's which is the current situation. So, and that's we have a patent pending breakthrough technology. So we have a provisional patent application in place on that. So the speed to insight is one very critical aspect of our pricing solution. The second aspect of our solution is about scale. So we are able to use the latest and greatest data. So theoretically, a user can run the models with the latest data as often as the data are replaced. So which could be weekly in some cases. We wouldn't recommend doing that, but as and when pricing decisions are made, you can sort of run the models with the latest data and use that for your analytics. The third aspect is that this is an end-to-end tool. So earlier, what happened when you're running pricing studies is that you have there's a group that does the analytics, and then somebody writes a PowerPoint deck and present it to the client. What we do in this solution is a fully integrated solution where you get automated insights, which are provided in real time. So which are actionable, and so the user can actually take action really quickly.
Right. Sharath, I'm so sorry to intervene. We are already 8 minutes into it. If you don't mind getting to the value proposition,
Okay.
we'll have more time with the panel discussion.
Okay, that's
I
fine.
apologize.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I didn't realize it was 8 minutes. So the fourth aspect is that it's a very simple interface, which can be used by business users. So let me just jump, given that that we're talking about the value proposition. So from a technology perspective, it is a patent pending approach, which is very futuristic, which can incorporate new algorithms and analytics in a matter of hours. Scalability is a big part of it. Adaptability, which it's an open architecture, which we are using where we can add new technology, and a simplicity of design. Those are kind of our value proposition. And then finally, we are looking for a pre-seed round of 1.5 million. We've raised 300 so far, and we are in the process of building. We have some revenue already, and we are starting to build more revenue in 2023.
Perfect sense. So the panel, shall we start with Russell, probably? Do you have any insight or questions?
Yeah, if you could speak to a little bit about your ability to get real-time data from, whether it's IRI or Nelson, and then, one of the issues on some of these softwares in the past is the information from the different sources are required in order to get a good look across multiple retailers, but yet they come in different formats.
Yeah.
And how does your software handle that current issue in the market?
Yeah, so we are basically, we would link to the IRI or Nielsen data through APIs. And so as data get updated, that data would flow through into our software. So that's kind of the way we are thinking about it. We have the ability to incorporate, for example, margin data, financial data, potentially supply chain data, and things like that. So we have the ability to incorporate that within the system.
Yeah, and so how would you be different than, say, a Zilliant in the industry today?
Yeah. So Zilliant is definitely a competitor. I think the difference that we have to them is speed. So they are. I know that they are kind of doing some really good work, and I think they are one of our key competitors. But our difference is speed and the full insight end to end that we are providing. Our focus is helping the user to make decisions rapidly, and that's kind of our single-minded focus.
And why are you faster? Why do you have more speed if you have the same data set?
Yeah, so the way we have done this, it's a cloud-based system. So we are able to run the models in parallel. So instead of doing sequential modeling, we have developed this approach where we can run them in parallel. So that's really the biggest reason why we can run the models very quickly. Now, the system is end-to-end, so it's basically there's no loss in time from running the analytics to getting the insights. That doesn't take. There's no loss in time at all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sharath. Shall we go ahead with Evan?
Sure. Russell asked several of these questions, but on the last one particularly, I'm not fully understanding how, like, if you're reliant on these other data sources, how you're able to, like, it feels like the bottleneck would still be there. Unpack the parallel modeling for me a little bit. Maybe it's just
okay. So yeah, sure, Evan. So the way that this works, most CPG companies have a contract with IRI or Nielsen, pretty much. So what we would do is we would actually piggyback on their contract. So for example, the clients that we have worked with so far, they've had contracts with IRI or Nielsen. So we basically do a linkage to that data. That typically IRI data is updated once, depending on the contract, either once a week or once in 4 weeks. Nowadays, most clients are once a week. So when the data is updated, we have a linkage through an API to that database. So what that allows the user to do is run the analysis as often as they want with the latest and greatest data. So in other words, let's say if you were running some pricing models in March, and now your whole situation has changed, so you want to run a model with just the latest data from March to December, you are able to do that. So that's really the benefit. Now, with respect to the parallel running, let me just talk a little bit. So the approach that we use is we've done the programming in sort of R parallel, what that allows to do is that each individual product, the modeling is done simultaneously. And because we are on the cloud, we can actually run, theoretically infinite number of models simultaneously and get the results. So the time that it takes to run 10 models and the time it takes to run 100 models is essentially the same. All you're using up is more cloud capacity. So I don't know if that helps or not.
It does. And you said you have an MVP already developed with customers, or at least pilots currently experiencing it. You said making some waves.
Yes.
So you're seeing that translated into the actual use cases on the MVP.
We are. So in fact, one of our first customers was we are using their data to build, we use their data to build the MVP. And it's a small data set. So it's about 7 retailers, they have about 4 or 5 products, and they have about 25 competing products. And that model takes about 10 or 15 seconds to run. If it's like a very large competitor, PepsiCo, which has tens of thousands of SKUs and things like that, that could take up to 20 minutes to run. But it's still very much faster than what you have today, which is, IRI, Nielsen, and other places are taking weeks and weeks to run these models.
It makes perfect sense. So, any other specific questions for Northlight team?
I do. I'm just gonna geek out here a little bit. So Sharath did linear, non-linear optimization long time ago. Are you doing any of that here, or is it more regression? What are you doing from algorithm point of view?
So it's a log linear regression model right now. We are so one thing that we don't want to do is we don't want to optimize quote unquote price, because it's very hard to optimize in real life with all the different constraints. But what we do is we build a log linear model. It has, basically it has all the competitors built in. So in other words, we build it for all the competitors. So what we can do is we can estimate the impact on your own volume when you raise or decrease price, but we can also estimate the cross elasticities from competitors. And we can estimate if you raise price and the competitors followed or didn't follow, what's kind of the impact on the overall category, which is very important to retailers.
Yeah, the game theory attributes. Yep.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sharath. It was a great presentation. Data is everything nowadays, so trying to make use of advanced computing and getting to point to solving strategic decisions is important. Thank you. Thank you for your time today.
Sure.
Thank you.
So shall we move on to paper to market communications?
Yeah, so let's bring them up.
Hi there, I'm Rachel Curtis. I'm Vice President of P2M Inventions, and I have my partners with me today on the call, Lindsay Troina and Levi Sires, and so they are in attendance today. Just to get started, I want to say thank you. It's great to be able to pitch in front of so many experts, and I appreciate all the feedback and taking up a Saturday. So I'll go with that, I'll get started. What is a shadow ban? It's a standalone technology developed for personal security, and it's completely housed and contained within a band of a wearable device. So put that over here.
Are you planning to share it, Rachel? Are you sharing?
Oh, I'm sorry. You guys can't see my screen. I thought that was shared. Just 1 second, ma'am.
That's perfectly fine. Your face is also good enough for us to listen.
Okay.
Yes, listen.
Go back here. Share screen. I'm trying to. There we go. I apologize. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So kind of taking back into what a shadow band is and why was it invented? Our company for the past several years has taken a very passionate initiative in the aim and the attempt to eradicate human trafficking, missing persons, and to help elderly with dementia and cognitive impairments for the purposes that we took a look at the current competitive landscape of wearable devices for personal security. And it's really unthinkable in today's era of technology that you can take an EKG on your wrist. You can track your sleep patterns. You can track your fitness steps, but we're still using such antiquated methods to be able to find missing persons. We still hold search parties. We rely on, video surveillance, and as well as we have kind of the modern day milk carton of the social media posts on Facebook and other social media platforms. And so what our company did is we developed a personal security completely housed within a wearable device band that stands alone. So it can attach and detach from pre-developed wearable devices. And so with that, I'll segue into this. When we took a look at the competitive landscape, we did a market study with Notre Dame Idea Center. And what we found is what has been developed is they have smart rings, they have GPS bracelets, we have smart clothing. We also have a lot of formation of smartphone apps, but they all have one critical fail factor in the current market. They have detachment issues. So if an assailant wants to detach those items from the individual or throw that phone in the ditch, once that detachment occurs, the protection stops and the tracking stops, and it leaves young children, women, everyone is vulnerable once that detachment occurs. And so what our company did is took a look at that current landscape of wearable devices, and we said, how can we overcome the detachment issue, for one? Two, why is personal security looked at as such a small presence on the wearables market. Right now, they only represent 13.6% of a $119 billion industry. And so we kind of took a step back when we went through looking at patenting it and looking at the development. And we wanted to make sure, as you can see this, the slide on your screen here, we have about 9 new features that protect the individual comprehensively. And why this is new and why this kind of segues into the next part of the presentation is that we're able to make a digital locking system. We're able to have a telltale pressure wire. We're able to have backfeed signalization that gives nonverbal cues to children and women kind of at a critical time in their life at an event. We have a help pull pin chip that can be easily detached and secretly hidden. We also have custom sensor formation and all kinds of technology that has been developed over 2 years to comprehensively. And we have the room with this shadow band, the spatial analysis, the thermal analysis, to be able to really protect individuals. Kind of moving on to the market here. As I spoke before, last year in 2021, there was a $116 billion worldwide market. And the CAGR just for personal security wearables is only expected to grow up to 2%. So right now, 85% of the market is being driven towards the formation into medical applications and to fitness applications. And there isn't a lot of development for personal security. And why I think that is it's the duplication of purchases. Nobody wants to wear a Fitbit and wear a personal security bracelet. No one wants to buy a necklace and buy an Apple Watch. And so what this does, and why I think it's a great opportunity to not even increase market share, we worked with Notre Dame for 2 years here, and they gave us some projections and we worked with them. But what I think is kind of the impetus that really drives this project is the fact that we have a 3-to-1. You're able to have fitness, medical, and personal security all in one wearable device. You're not duplicating your purchases. And secondly, if you look at the market right now, and I won't get too far in the weeds with the technology, but as anybody that knows, with the face of a wearable device right now, every micro inch is accounted for, and it's very expensive. You have to chip it and reduce it, and the cost is heavy. They just don't have the space. Where this is a standalone technology that can be attached to pre-developed wearable devices, and it operates on its own, and you're not having any costly redesigns, you're having effective manufacturing, and you're able to detach this and not have any kind of redesign or expensive process that way. We looked at that as well. We just want to ensure, and it's a legacy project for us. I know we talk a lot about technology in here, but we're not the same society we were 2 generations ago. We're watching over our shoulder when we jog. We watch our kids at the bus stop. We're calling them abroad when they study. We're just not the same go play generation that we were 2 years ago. And so we're very passionate about it. And it's a legacy project that we have been working on for the last several years. And so with that, I'll move on to kind of where we are with investment. We have raised $200,000 right now for a minimal viable product. We've worked with Volar Systems, a company on the West Coast that has a nationally recognized company and an expert in sensor formation and the design. So we have a fully vetted understanding what this would cost to take this to market. And we are still seeking phase 1 and phase 2 of around $600,000 to $700,000 just to get to a portion where we can develop the Shadow app and as well as the minimal viable product and keep continuing on. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions, and I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Rachel. This is an awesome initiative. I'm personally interested in the personal security side of things, having kids. It's awesome. Thank you. So
Yeah.
do you want to go, Evan, do you want to go ahead with the initial questions?
Sure, not my space, but certainly curious about it. I want to make sure I understand, like, who is the customer here? Like, who is the ultimate buyer that you're going after first?
Sure. We did a lot of demographics, and it would really be young children in the space of between 9 and 17, and young women traveling, college-age women, as well as women traveling alone. So our demographic is heavily on women and children. that was kind of pronounced during the Notre Dame marketing study. A lot of what we're looking to do is for the development, as I spoke before, the pre-developed technologies of wearable devices. There's, millions and millions of dollars that go into their utility and design patents. So this stands alone. There's no need to redevelop. It seamlessly attaches. And so what our kind of customer base would be is partnering with existing pre-developed wearable devices where the customer base is already solidified and they already have a big market, and kind of continuing that avenue.
Thank you. You answered my follow-up there as well.
Oh, sorry, I jumped in
That's
there.
perfect. Perfect.
That's awesome. Thank you. Russell, do you want to go next?
Yeah, and just making sure I'm following this as well. So the band would communicate, let's say I'm wearing it with my Apple Watch. Would it communicate via my Apple Watch to call 911 if it was disconnected, or does it have its own communication means?
We have two investment platforms that go both ways. One is the Shadowband app, where, for example, I'll give you one of the features. It has a whole pull pin chip. You would be able to pull that chip. It would communicate straight to the Shadow network and right to 911 immediately if that pin and that chip was removed. But it would also be able to be incorporated if Apple or Fitbit or one of the big five were to incorporate this. They would be able to have an Apple personal security, because there's some settings here that we have to be cognizant of, and false alerts and things of that nature, where we have to make sure that we're not annoying the police with false alerts all the time because people didn't, take off the band when they were supposed to, or they didn't push their settings right. So it can go one of two investment routes, if that answers your question.
Yeah, so it would use, does it use both a wireless network and a wireless internet?
It uses both. We have a software engineer that has made a cloud platform as well as the other route, especially, if you're running and you're in a dust-lit area, it's going to be able to make sure you don't have a gap in coverage.
And the battery life would be approximately, for the one that uses wireless?
Actually, it's up to 72 hours because it is reporting that everything's intact, which takes a marginal amount of battery. You're only going to need to have heavy battery usage if you're having terrible events happen to you. So it really does not have a heavy drain on battery, because the only thing that's reporting constantly is, the digital lock's intact, the sensors haven't gone off. And so it's got a long battery life due to that. It's not like somebody checking their phone or checking their steps or checking, in a conventional wearable device.
And last question, and I'll turn it over to the other panelists. Clearly, dementia is a huge issue in at least the U.S., and people will spend money on it. It's something I can attest to with aging parents. Does it have fall detection?
Yes, it will have, and it will have, perspiration, heart rate, body temperature, but it will also have a voice recognition. If the individual says, a keyword, help, it's going to recognize that.
And geofencing as well?
Yes. Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Milind, you would like to go next?
Yes, this has probably been answered, but I just have a quick question.
Absolutely.
How do you solve the detachability problem?
Well, right now in the market with the GPS bracelets, without getting too much into the privy technology, there are sensor alerts as well, but there is also a setting in the morning that will track the individual all day. And if it is off course, it's going to send an alert as well. And we've done a lot of investigation into to make sure that we have a guardian. So if you have a 15-year-old that goes to school and you can't find them, you can't reach them by phone, you can check the app and kind of track it that way.
Yeah, but back to my question. Someone takes off this smart band and
Right.
throws it away. What happens?
Well, the digital locking will occur And once, if you don't unlock it, it's going to send a sensor alert to the shadow network. And then if you don't have a heart rate, it's going to send an alert. And so there's other ones that I can talk to you offline about that are kind of privied. But those are some.
Okay.
Is this patent, are you going to have patents on the?
Yes, we had
design?
a firm here out of Indianapolis has already filed utility and design and foreign patents on this.
One last question, which is around everything so far is great and very impressive. So congrats on the progress. Very quickly on unit economics. How are you thinking about unit economics?
You know, we were talking about that just recently and really kind of introducing it into the market. And, you know, there are so many different economies, you know, foreign and domestic that, you know, unfortunately, you know, looking at the rising rates of human trafficking in foreign countries as well as the United States, we would try to integrate into areas as a cross section, and most likely if we have our wish. So
Best of luck.
thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. It's a great initiative. Really
Thank you.
appreciate
Yeah, I
all
very
the
much
information.
keys today. That's great to been here, all the experts today.
It's very different from what we heard so far. Thank you. Thank you for working on this.
Yeah, no problem. I will stop sharing right now.
Sure. We are on to Pulse Apparel.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Krishna.
Let me just share my screen. Okay. Hi, everyone. Excited to be here. Thank you for organizing this. We'll go ahead and get started. My name is Karishma, and I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Pulse Athletic Apparel based in Chicago. We are a company that is developed real-time fabric-compatible hydration monitoring to prevent dehydration-related illnesses and death. Forgive the lag. So dehydration is a problem that has swept across all Americans, and especially globally, but it more so affects competitive athletes. We see here is a picture of Shalane Flanagan, elite marathoner, who has an entire team regulating her diet, her nutrition, and optimizing performance. Yet still in 2016, she passed out due to dehydration at the Olympic trials in LA. We take a look on the right-hand side, additional elite and endurance marathoners also suffered from dehydration-related illnesses that have proven to have detrimental effects on their performance. Taking a look at the market overall, what we are doing is focusing first on the endurance athletes at a starting point, looking at the intersection of wearables, sensors, and apparel. We see here that in the US alone, we have about 19 million endurance athletes, a little bit more skewed towards women and men, and are looking at the essential wearable market where athletes are looking specifically for hydration tech. Additional markets that could benefit from hydration monitoring, fabric compatibility are the health tech segments, looking at long-term care facilities, first responders and EMS, as well as the government and military. As mentioned, our focal starting point is the sports tech niche, which is a very fastly growing $40 billion market. So how does it work? Essentially, we have developed fabric-compatible hydration monitoring sensors that are placed in places where sweat is the most concentrated on the body. So for both men and women, thinking bands of shorts, bands of joggers, bands of leggings, and kind of athletic wear pants. For women, we're looking at bands and straps of sports bras and dry fit tanks as well. So how does it work? Essentially, an athlete will put on a fabric compatible piece. So let's say this woman is getting ready to go on a run, puts on a sports bra, which has the sensor embedded into it, and initiates her workout with via Bluetooth on her mobile app. She starts jogging and starts to realize that she didn't drink enough water the night before or even morning of. The sensor then sends real-time data via Bluetooth to phone, watch, or tablet, and her phone vibrates, alerting her that her sodium concentrations are critically low. Based on preliminary biometric information that she puts, she's then given a customized strategy on how to replenish adequately. So essentially what our product does is in real time detects the salinity of sweat via sodium concentration and relays a customized approach for users. Up to date, we have traction in a few different categories. We have validated sales capability, momentum, as well as technology. Before kind of rolling out the technology, we beta tested our brand with our first product line of functional athletic and athleisure wear. We had 7 retail partners between Chicago, Cleveland, and Miami, and generated about 100K in sales. Since we have partnered with 3 research universities for activities such as design, marketing, and tech development, looking at Case Western Reserve University, Loyola Marymount University out in LA, and Bradford University School of Design out in the East Coast. We also have partnered with 2 prominent fitness organizations, both based in Chicago, a Sweat Life and Strength in the City, as well as grown kind of micro teams of 13 brand ambassadors and 12 thought leaders and 7 interns, as well as generating a lot of company interest from the Gen Z workforce. We also have validated our technology with conducting about 1,000 trials in lab and receiving a 99% accuracy of sodium concentration counter-tested with blood samples. What is our business model? We are essentially a B2B2C company selling to both endurance race partners as well as fitness retailers and brands that yield our product to consumers. Some major endurance race partners we plan on partnering with at a starting point are the Big 6 marathon majors, 3 of which are in the US, as well as certain retailers like Fleet Feet, Heartbreak Hill, Dick's Sporting Goods, Fitbit, and Garmin. So essentially, we are licensing out our technology into these major brands for use in their product line, which then yield to our target consumers, the endurance athletes. Our team, we have a team combined of 30 years of expertise in sensor development, strategy, and operations. I am the founder and CEO, marathoner turned founder, grew up as a competitive athlete and have run 5 full marathons and counting. The product that we have built essentially solves a problem that I have faced multiple times during my own training. I come from years of being a startup management and strategy consultant, as well as having graduate degrees at top 8 and top 50 universities worldwide in both management and physiology, as well as being a former NASA FedTech startup studio. My business partner and CTO, Chelsea, comes from a strong STEM and technical background, having a chemical and biomedical PhD, as well as having years of expertise in electrochemical and device development. And then our CMO, CCO, Paulina, comes from about a decade of experience as a writer, storyteller, and marketing strategist. One thing I'd like to add, based off our team at this kind of stage, we are a female-led team. 2/3 of us come from strong immigrant backgrounds. My parents immigrated here years ago, and I like to say that entrepreneurship and tech are really ingrained in my blood, in my DNA. I saw my parents do well in corporate careers in healthcare in the 90s. If anyone remembers what the company called Circuit City was, to essentially leave and launch businesses of their own. Eventually didn't work out. So we went from living in middle class to, a 5-story estate, and then ultimately in a 2-bedroom apartment, while my sister, who has autism, ADHD, and developmental delay, was not speaking. I then saw my immigrant parents, hustle up, give us as normal of a childhood as we could, and then get back on their feet, and have since used that tenacity as an example to not only pursue my own professional career, but make pivots in launching this business. And thank you. That's all.
You're muted, Asha.
Asha, we can't hear you.
Oh, it's awesome, Karishma. 5 marathons. I can't even complete one. So it's an inspiring story. Thank you. Thank you for presenting this to us. And I really like the female-led company, obviously. So, Evan, do you want to go ahead?
Hi, Karishma. Great presentation, inspiring story as always. Super impressive. Can you just give us kind of a bit of a contextual landscape of like what these athletes are currently using, particularly like how your solution differentiates along like key dimensions of value for the athlete?
Yeah, of course. So currently our closest competitors are Gatorade, Sweat Patch, and indirect competitors are Under Armour. So Gatorade came out with essentially an adhesive sticker, single use, a couple years ago, that gives you a broad kind of readability, so high, medium, or low on what your electrolyte levels are. And essentially, you're only able to use it one time. So if you are a competitive athlete training about 5 times a week, odds of spending $25 per sticker are very slim. So what we offer is kind of longevity of use. We're in the wearable category. So as long as you essentially take care of one, it will last for as long as you like it to. The second, Under Armour, about 12 years ago, though not in hydration tech, started dabbling with smart textiles. And what they did was they created a heart rate monitoring and glucose reading shirt, in essence, too. They quickly launched it and quickly closed the product because it was doing too much at the same time. Though that's kind of, those are the two of like the kind of closest like competitors we'd have, aside from lab testing and additional kind of sensors in that market. We see a Gatorade as being a great potential partner down the road with our mobile app, and we see Under Armour as being one of kind of a leading consumer for us to license our tech out to down the road.
That's awesome. And it sounded like part of the value prop is like the eventually like the personalization of the recommendations that gets provided. Like, is the notification or the delivery of that personalization happening during a race? Is that like too late? I mean, should that be happening before a race, or like what kind of customization can I actually leverage while I'm in a race?
Yeah, so the biggest value prop is like to optimize like training, so you're able to achieve peak performance during the race. So the more you kind of use this, let's say you're signed up to do a marathon, you have a 20-week training plan, you are wearing like our wearable, in essence, like all throughout training, you'll understand your body better through the preliminary biometric information you'll put in, similar to many other kind of fitness apps. So thinking height, weight, age, body type, blood type. It extracts an information such as weather, since climate is a big indicator of hydration as well. And it'll give you that information to essentially understand your body better at what kind of increments you need to hydrate adequately. So then come race day, you're able to hit that PR.
Awesome. Thank you, Karishma.
Yeah.
Thank you. Evan, looks like you're ready for a marathon with this device. So, okay. Milind, do you have any questions for Karishma?
No, I just had a suggestion, which is that I think you might want to study how Gatorade actually in their origin became popular, which is they partnered with a few sports teams. And if my memory is correct, and that's how they got people adopting basically enhanced water. I mean, it's just that's what it is, right? I think that you have something very interesting, but I think you might want to, in addition to Paulina, you might want to have somebody who's got much more of a sports marketing thing. At the same time, I'm going to go off track here because of my familiarity with my in-law. Dehydration monitoring in long-term care is a real issue, especially because in long-term care, people don't pay a lot of attention to it until it's too late. So that might be a more attractive area because there's less competition. And a wearable is an easy thing to sell in long-term care. That's it.
Yep. Thank you, Milind. Russell, do you would like to add something to this, please?
Yeah, one I'd like to build upon. If you think about the early adopters of these kind of technologies, you think about Gatorade is from Florida Gators, right? The football program. They will spend money on hydration analysis, and they will, if it's successful, it creates a lot of visibility. So I do agree with college sports is an area that they're spending a lot of money on these kind of things. But out of curiosity, how many square inches of fabric is needed in order to get good analytics? And how durable? You said it's durable, but how many washes can it absorb?
Yeah, so that's something we're kind of still undergoing with some like R&D right now in terms of like what washability is, but in terms of like the sensor so right now it's a separate component. That's something that we're working on. In terms of like sensor longevity, it is kind of rechargeable. So right now, 19-hour duration. We compare it to a cell phone. So as long as you take care of a cell phone, it can last at least a year. Unless you want the newer model, then you can replenish like as needed. But in terms of washability, that's something we're continuing to do with development. Oh, and then sorry, the other part of your question, I think you said length of fabric. So typically just the amount that would be for just a functional athletic wear. So any sort of sizing with like a sports bra, tank top, t-shirt for both men and women. And then similarly for shorts, leggings and joggers too. Focusing on like the band where it's inserted, since that's where sweat is most concentrated.
That's awesome. So Hem, do you like to?
Yeah, so I like, Karishma, that you have segmented your market very precisely and you're looking at people who are long-term users or who have a real need versus fad or opportunistic. So ICP is well identified, which means that the use is going to be frequent and many times versus infrequent and maybe only for a short duration. Have you then used that to think about your revenue model and not necessarily lead with hardware revenue, but reduce the friction on the sale and going more SaaS or a combination of SaaS from an app point of view and a little bit lower price point, entry point from the hardware point of view itself?
Yeah, that's a good question. So and I can answer in like two different ways. One, kind of looking at the pricing. What we're kind of offering is very comparable to like the wearable market. So you look at kind of Garmin and Fitbit, we're kind of at the same standing point that they're at, which is about, any model is, I think that's between $150 and $300, depending on what model you're looking at. And that's how we segmented our market to, people who are endurance athletes tend to be in a, forgive me, but lack of a better word, higher tax bracket, have more disposable income. And the differentiating point with endurance athletes is, like you mentioned, they're not necessarily influenced by fads, by something that, a Kardashian or like another celebrity is wearing, but they're looking at how they can improve their own peak performance. So that's kind of where that value comes from. Going to the application component, that's definitely a part of our model down the road. So initially we have like an app that's kind of in bare bones. We're raising our pre-seed round right now to finish rolling that out. And are definitely including that as we start licensing out the technology to these partners.
Okay, that's very well thought out. The second part is around supply chain. So is your supply chain going to be able to scale if this takes off and this becomes quite massive in terms of usage?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we are manufacturing out of Cleveland, Ohio, out of a firm that's there, kind of keeping it within like the first year, like US based, but looking at exploring kind of global partners as we continue to expand, and our consumers will be like retailers, apparel manufacturers and brands. So as we get to that scale, looking and setting up kind of mechanisms to outsource that.
Asha, do we have time for one more question? Yeah, so I might have missed this, Karishma, but what about IP? Have you guys already started filing patents? And if yes, what's the stage?
Yes, so we filed a patent and it's been, we have a full patent on kind of the sensor. Now we have a provisional that we filed for the fabric compatibility.
Got it. Are you doing PCT, meaning global or just US?
Right now, just US.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Karishma. Any other questions, team? So it looks like you have covered everything, Karishma. Great initiative. Thank you
so much for
Thank
the
you
time.
for the information.
Good job.
On to Pulse, Srinivas. I'm sorry, Prashnu.
Yeah, they're coming up.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey guys. Hey all. Nice to meet you and thanks for the opportunity. So I can start sharing my screen. Let me know. Oh, just hold on a moment. So let's figure out how I share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see.
Yes.
All right. So my name is Metin. I am CEO and co-founder of Rashnu, a startup based in Bay Area, part of Daybreak Lab in Livermore. We are a team of scientists, engineers with over 20 years of background in chemical engineering. My co-founder and I, we both did our master and PhD in chemical engineering. The focus of my master and PhD was on carbon capture, CO2 capture and utilization. And I did several industrial projects after graduation. My co-founder's background was mostly in EPC, engineering, procurement, and construction. He did more than 7 years of project for industries, oil and gas industries. Here at Rashnu, we are building a proprietary technology that decarbonizes industries by making existing CO2 capture and utilization processes more energy efficient, by more than 75% energy efficient, and more economical by producing reusable feedstock from CO2. So the problem is evident. We have more than 1/3 of CO2 emission coming from heavy industries, and currently less than 1% is captured. And if we want to keep the temperature rise below 1.5 or 2 degrees C, and to meet the net zero goals of industries, we need to get to 100% capture by 2050. Being in the climate tech and CCU, carbon capture and utilization industries for the past 10 years as a scientist, engineer, and project manager helped me to identify the challenge with existing solutions. One is the cost and the other one is energy. In fact, more than 96% of the current solutions are CCS, carbon capture, storage, or sequestration. So they do not do anything with CO2. They just compress CO2 and store it underground. Because of that, it usually adds to operating costs of the customer. In some cases, they try to solve the problem by converting CO2 to valuable chemical, but majority of those projects fail to scale up. They usually stop in the research phase because they are not energy efficient. I give you an example to clarify my point. If you want to decarbonize a small chemical plant using electrochemical process, you need about 300,000 megawatt hour of electricity. And if you want to supply that from a solar farm, you need a solar farm as big as 160 soccer fields. So that realization about the gap in the market made us start working on building a technology that is energy cost efficient, is scalable, and is a practical solution for decarbonization of industry. And the way that the process works, we are using a very common concept in chemical engineering and oil and gas, the concept of absorption. The solvent-based absorption, in fact, is used for many years in oil and gas. One example is traditional carbon capture processes. But using ore solvent, we not only capture CO2, but we also utilize CO2 in the process of mineralization. So the mineralization is scientific or technical term that is used for conversion of CO2 or solidifying CO2 to solid chemicals that has the carbon in their structure. These solid chemicals shown here in that diagram are widely used in the industries. They have over $12 billion market in the US, and they can be recycled back to the emitting plant, be used as a raw material and feedstock by the emitting plant. In the process, the absorbent chemically deforms, so we are introducing a proprietary catalytic regeneration process to regenerate the absorbent and recycle it back to the process. In fact, the unique proposition of our process is that we do not use any electricity other than the auxiliary equipment. Everything that we use is in form of heat. And we minimize the heat demand of our process by first using the catalyst and also by recovering part of the heat from waste heat stream of the customer. Another feature of the process, we have an internal furnace that supplies the makeup heat for our process. That internal furnace can be fed with the flaring methane, another important emission from industries. In that case, our process is capable of reducing methane emission on top of CO2 emission. By integrating our process with customer process, we can cut emission. More than 64% net CO2 reduction is the result of our life cycle assessment. We are using significantly less power, more than 75% less power compared to the traditional CCU, carbon capture and utilization. And we are making profit by producing customers' feedstock, as I mentioned before. So that $365 per ton of CO2 is the minimum net profit that the customer can make by integrating our process with their process. That doesn't include the tax credit or selling the byproduct. So the business model is the end goal is to license the technology to the customer. In the pathway to licensing the technology, we are engaging the customer from early stage. In the phase 1 and phase 2, we customize the technology based on the customer requirements. In that phase for customization, we use a lot of engineering AI tools, which basically generate the digital twin of commercial scale plants so that the customer can get the idea about the cost, about what is happening in the process without the need to see the physical pilot or scale up, so that they can make the decision if they want to move forward to build a pilot or commercial scale plant. The result of pilot would be the front-end engineering package that will be delivered to EPC or contractor to build a commercial scale plant. And at that phase, we engage them, we partner with EPC to build a commercial scale plant, and we license the technology, we charge the customer for licensing fee. We are a team of scientists, engineers, and entrepreneurs with several years of experience in business development. In fact, we have a world-class advisory board who are helping us with the business development. They also have several years of experience with commercialization and licensing of similar technologies. So we are raising also for the seed. And at the same time, we are engaging the new customer. We currently have one LOI with one customer. We are actively speaking with the customers. So if you are interested to learn more as an investor or a customer, happy to have a follow-up meeting or discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Roshan. This is a very unique green tech that we've never got exposed to, at least personally, I never got exposed to. This seems to be a great initiative and a long and a multi-term one. It's not like building a technology platform which can be turned around in 3 months or probably 2 quarters. So it takes a lot of effort, looks like, to get to the point where you help out with decarbonization. With that, Milind, do you have anything to add to Rashnu?
Actually, I was hoping Russell would, but all right, I'll start.
Russell is, am I missing? Okay.
I just had, first, very interesting, but I had a question. How would this work with an existing plant? In other words,
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So the way it works is very similar to existing carbon capture and storage processes. It's like a drop-in solution. It's like a package that you add as a downstream to the existing industrial facilities. It's fed with the flue gas. We are actually transferring the flue gas to our absorption column, and the absorption column captures CO2, mineralized CO2. The minerals are separated and basically recycled back to the emitting plant. So it's a very, you don't need to change anything on the existing facility, just need to add this package for cleaning the emission.
Okay, all right.
I'll jump in, by no means an expert in this area, but we all have science-based targets, and clearly carbon capture is something we've got to figure out if any of us are going to meet our carbon-based, science-based targets. So definitely a need for this. A little bit about your business model. You referenced its IP, but if I think about the complexity of what you're doing, could you give me a ballpark? How large of investment is this for each capital investment? Is it for each installation? And the engineering resources on your side, how do you ramp that up and maintain your business when these are 18, 24 with permitting, probably even longer than that in the life cycle? So how do you ramp this model up?
So again, that's based on the customer requirements. If they want, the capital costs of the process really vary based on the size of the process. And
but a typical investment for your customer would be 10 million, 20 million, 2 million, frame of reference.
So we have the numbers in terms of capital costs. So our capital costs really compete with CCS, carbon capture and storage processes, which are already very well known in wider industry, oil and gas, chemical industries. So if I remember it correctly, so right now the capital cost for CCS is $60 to $70 per ton of CO2 per year, which means that they basically divide it based on the lifetime of the process or lifetime of the plant. For our process, the capital cost is around $45 per ton of CO2 per year. So again, if based on their capacity, that can change, that number can change. So the absolute capital cost, if that makes sense.
But how do you scale up your engineering resources? Because I would assume each one of these require a fair amount of engineering work on your side.
So we are working with, we do not provide, we are selling the technology. We do not provide the equipment. We are working with the contractor or EPC who is actually paid by the customer, and they purchase the equipment from that EPC. They provide the service, they provide the maintenance on the equipment, but we provide the guidance to them. We provide the know-how to how to build this process. So we are basically delivering them the front-end engineering package, which would be all the information that is required to build the plant, but the hardware is supplied by another contractor or third party.
But I would assume still a fair amount of front-end engineering is required on your side for each implementation.
Yes, that's why we are raising money. To increase our project capacity. So one of the goals that we have for seed round is to increase our project capacity to have 5 partners in pilot phase. And as we are moving forward, we need to increase grow our company and expand our engineering team so that we can meet the requirements of the industry.
Aim, do you want to go next?
Well, Milan raises his hand first. So Milan, do you want to go first?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so it seems like the business model, the revenue model is actually advisory services, right? This is not a recurring subscription-based model that you can initially take the hit on the cost and then amortize the cost through subscription over a period of 10 years, 20 years, or whatever the lifespan of that technology is. So can you confirm that with a just quick yes, no? It's advisory versus subscription, right?
It's more of licensing, so selling the IP to the customer.
Okay, so is it a perpetual license, or are you doing subscription, annual subscription? Perpetual, I'm guessing, right?
There are two ways. I mean, that again depends on the customer. We can charge them for upfront fee. They can pay us upfront, and the technology will be theirs. They can use the technology for the lifetime of the plan, or that can be in form of annual fee, running fee that we charge them. It's going to be like similar to like financing or selling like a vehicle or car.
Exactly, that's where I was going. So there might be a way for you to at least fund some of the work that you're going to do with milestone-based payments or prepayments before you start a particular phase of the project. So I'm pretty sure you're already thinking about it. The second comment I would say is just from a feedback point of view. So this is not necessarily going to be a typical play for a venture-backed. Like, it's not a venture-backed play. This is more project finance play, or something which maybe the new climate tech funds are doing, but typical venture funds are not necessarily gonna be a fit for you on this one. So just keep in mind, just giving you just like real-time feedback on that side.
Okay, yeah. Thanks for the feedback. Yep.
Milan, do you want to go next?
Just one question. If you go back to your slide, which showed, I was very intrigued with the slide that shows the circular nation, right?
Yes.
This looks like your secret sauce, because what you're saying is your process regenerates the absorbing chemical.
That's right.
Which means you really have to change well, first, is this across the same chemical across a broad range of industries, or do you have to fine tune it to each industry or each application?
The only part that we fine tune based on the customer requirements is the absorption part. So the size of the absorption column will be affected with the concentration of the CO2. And the other thing is we also customize it based on the waste heat stream of the process. If we can have like good amount of heat recovering from the customer plant, then the size of the furnace would be smaller. Otherwise, you have to have a larger furnace to supply all the heat for a process.
And then that's my final. Is that your secret sauce? Is that what makes you unique?
So the secret sauce is, yes, to build a process that is efficiently you can regenerate the absorbent and recycle it back to the process. I mean, to our knowledge, no one has been able to do this.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah. Great initiative, Rashnu. Last but not the least, very intriguing one. All the best for everything that you have in the future. Thank you. Thank you for making the time and presenting this to us.
Sure, no problem. Thank you
for
your time.
Yeah, with that, we'd like to take a few questions. I think we have probably 5 minutes, and we'd like to spend a few minutes just if there are any specific questions to the team, or we'd like to thank everyone who is here and how to reach in terms of next steps. We'll just go over the next steps once the questions are done. So if you have any questions, anyone, any specific questions, we might be able to take 1 or 2. Looks like everybody's hungry. Either hungry or sleepy or lot of things to think about.
Definitely.
Yep, it's each of these ideas need a session of their own to understand the depth and breadth of what you guys achieved. Thank you for all the time that you spent with us and all the esteemed panel here being very interested on how everyone is solving the problems, giving expert feedback. And we have a lot of other people behind the scenes that we would like to thank. But before that, Srinivas, do you have anything else to add?
No, great job. Thank you. Thank you for all the panelists, Meland, Russell, and Haim, Evan, Anand, for your expertise. And this was a great session and very helpful for all the participants. All the startups already getting some messages from them. Thank you for your time. Asha, great job. Thank you.
No problem. We had to wing it. Thank you. But before we log off, so I'd like to thank the organization that promoted the events. It's 1871 Matter, P33 Chicago, Spark Growth Ventures, Hyde Park Angels, Anand Dallas Innovations, and Generator. I definitely want to also thank the corporate sponsors, ITW, Dover Corporation, USG, Nordstorm, Sonoco, and ChampionX. But most importantly, the hosting team who has worked with our moving schedules, and hardly we paid attention to them the past 3-4 weeks, them trying to get through all the lists and finalizing the 8 teams that we have here. Vishal, AJ, Jude, Srinivas, Sumit. Without your efforts behind the scenes and Srini's leadership, we shouldn't have done this. And we really enjoyed it. This is the best 3 hours that I spent in this weekend. Thanks a lot. And we're looking forward to other sessions. Thanks a lot.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.